1, 2, 3, 4, les violettes. Ici Pan Suisse TV aux violettes. Bonjour.
Hallo David, besten Dank fürs Kommen. Ich möchte wissen, was dein Beitrag zum Gelingen von Pan Suisse sein könnte.
Having worked for the European Environment Agency for 16 years, we've got some experience about the key issue that PAN has identified, which is to involve the public in key decisions about chemicals and pesticides and particularly endocrine disrupting substances. We've just done a big report, and the conclusion is the public does have to be involved in three particular areas. The first is to help choose the strength of evidence that's needed to take a decision to either ban a chemical or restrict it or whatever. And we could wait for very strong evidence, or we could wait for middle evidence or small. And that's an ethical choice which the public needs to get involved in. The second is which direction for innovation in order to feed the world and provide enough energy for 9 billion people. There are different choices to be made. Currently they tend to be made by elite groups. The public needs to be more involved in these decisions. And the third is to look at, and I've forgotten what the frigging third is. So maybe you can edit this a little bit. Can you do that maybe? I don't know whether you've got editing facilities. But the third one is that when we consume medicines, pharmaceuticals and plastics and chemicals generally, they tend to go into the environment through the water treatment plants, which don't capture them. In order to make them more efficient, we have to spend quite a lot of money. The public should be involved in deciding how much money and who pays, the companies that produce the pollutants or the taxpayer. And that's a kind of a political question which must involve the public. And so that's why the public needs to be engaged in Pan Suisse's work.
In der Schweiz haben wir eine spezielle Situation. Könnte man sagen, dass Pan Schweiz quasi eine Vorreiterrolle spielen könnte, auch mit dem Zusammenhang zu der direkten Demokratie, die wir hier in der Schweiz haben?
Switzerland has a number of characteristics which make it a really good place to start this campaign. First of all, you do have this long history of engaging the public through referenda and consultations with the public. Nearly all other countries just do not have that. Secondly, you're quite a small country with 5 million or so. It's relatively easier to get a smaller group of people involved. And thirdly, the Swiss people have always had high regard for the environment. You get your tourism and skiing out of a good environment. And there's also a high regard for organic farming, biofarming, and farming that doesn't use so much pesticides and fertilizers. So you have a good opportunity here to succeed and then demonstrate to other countries how they can succeed.
Besten Dank, dass du hier bist und zu mir eine bestimmte Frage zu beantworten. Es betrifft das Anthrazin, das hast du ja studiert, und ich möchte wissen, wieso ich oder wir heute wissen müssen, was Anthrazin noch heute für eine wichtige Rolle spielt bei uns hier in der Schweiz, auch wenn es verboten ist.
Yeah, so it's actually very interesting to be here in Switzerland because, of course, the manufacturer of atrazine, Novartis Syngenta, is based here in Basel, and atrazine is not allowed in Switzerland and in fact not allowed in the European Union. Atrazine is still a concern, even if you're not using it. One, it's active at very low doses, 0.1 parts per billion in amphibians, produces hermaphrodites, demasculinizes frogs, and that level of atrazine can be found anywhere, even where it's not used. You can get as much as 10 parts per billion atrazine in rainwater. It can travel as much as 1,000 kilometers. So in fact, that was one of the problems when it was banned in France. Atrazine use in Germany still brought over contamination in the rainwater. It can travel go into the groundwater and travel in surface water. So it's kind of a ubiquitous problem because it's such a common contaminant. Atrazine levels in field workers can be up to 2,400 parts per billion. That's 24,000 times what we use in the laboratory. That means that one of these farmers' urine has enough atrazine that we can dilute their atrazine in their urine 24,000 times and use the atrazine in their urine to chemically castrate and feminize 24,000 buckets of 30 tadpoles each. So it's an incredible problem globally.
Du hast ja vor allem die Frösche studiert und die Amphibien und die Wirkungen von Anthrazin bei diesen Tieren. Kann man sich vorstellen, dass da wirklich Zusammenhänge auch zu finden sind beim Menschen?
atrazine causing the male frog's gonads to turn into ovaries or males to grow eggs in their testes. You wouldn't expect that in a human or other mammal, but atrazine's mechanisms are important for breast cancer in humans. Atrazine induces breast cancer in rats. It's associated with breast cancer in humans. Atrazine causes prostate disease in rats and is associated with prostate disease in humans. In fact, in rats, the sons of exposed mothers can be born with prostate disease, with the prostate of an old man. Atrazine causes low fertility in rats and is associated with low fertility in men, in humans. And finally, atrazine has been associated recently with a number of pretty bad birth defects, including babies being born with their intestines and stomach on the outside of their body, inappropriate development of the mouth and nasal cavity, and small birth weight and early term birth.
For this first Swiss Pan TV, I'm absolutely delighted to have Pete there, and it's great to have such a chappie on board working with us.
Yeah.
A chappie, yeah. I taught him what a chappie was, because it's British and not American.
And you wait till you see what Pan Swiss is going to do with
Yeah.
vampires.
Oh,
That's going to be
intoxicated
See what we're
vampires.
doing. We are ruining vampire food because people have body burdens of poisonous stuff. Vampires can't eat them any longer.
Can you imagine? They can't feed
They can't
themselves.
feed, you know.
They-
You look at a
Yeah.
body and a vampire reacts. I'm not going to suck that thing. I can't. It's got
Vampires'
divinal
health
leaves in it.
is going down. They're getting ill. We
There's-
need to save this population.
I know.
Oh.
This Pan Swiss's next major agenda is going to be saving
Vampires.
vampires.
Yeah.
Yeah.
From an intoxicated, endocrine disrupted food chain.
Yeah.
For
Lots of work.
poor
Lots of work to do.
vampires. Yeah.
Yeah.
You're great.